What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Nick, and it is finally time. It is long overdue. I've had this thing for about a month and a half now, but the video game season, as you guys probably saw, kind of took me by the balls, and it didn't want to let go. I had a lot of projects that I needed to wrap up, a bunch of series, a bunch of Let's Plays, and I wanted to make sure that I was fully invested in doing a proper review of the Xbox One X, the most powerful console in the world today. And after having a little bit of extra time, I think I'm finally able to string together my final opinions, and I'm going to be doing a formal review. So hopefully guys enjoy the video. All right, so let's start off with the setup first, because we have to set up the mood correctly, give you guys some background information of everything that you guys are about to see, kind of dim the lights a little bit, light some candles. So first things first, I did not personally purchase this Xbox One X. It was sent to me by the nice people at Xbox Canada for review a couple weeks prior to its official launch, even though this review is extremely late. But at the same time, I'm not getting paid any sort of compensation for this video or any other videos that you'll see regarding this console. And you guys will probably notice as well that this video is not recorded in native 4K because I personally don't have a 4K camera, and I didn't want to buy one just for the sake of this review. But that being said, I did record all the gameplay that you guys are about to see in native 4K. It's just gonna be downscaled to 1080p. I want to give a quick thank you to the nice people at Elgato. They provided a complimentary 4K 60 Pro full review. I did a review on their device. You can find the link to that in the description. But I thought that I would have a 4K camera, but it just didn't work out. But they were still nice enough to provide one just in case I did want to record a 4K review, even though, yeah, I didn't do so. And one major thing as well, since we're talking about 4K, we have to mention what monitor I was using. So I did an unboxing and review of this monitor as well. For my review, I was playing on the ASUS MG28UQ. It is a 28-inch ASUS gaming monitor with very low latency. One thing that it does not have though, it does not support HDR. So my impressions are sans HDR, so you kind of have to take that for what it's worth. All right, so let's first start off with the hardware, because the hardware is pretty much kind of like the tagline that Microsoft has used when describing this device as the most powerful console in the world. And based on pure specs, it is. I'm not gonna go super detailed into specs because I know a lot of you guys find it a little bit boring, I know, but at the same time, I know that a lot of you guys find it interesting. So here are the specs right here. Here are the specs of the Xbox One X versus and compared to the PlayStation 4 Pro, its main competition. And yeah, as you can see, just purely on specs, it is definitely the most powerful console in the world. So let's talk about the full cost of 4K gaming in relation to the Xbox One X, and actually pretty much any other console on the market today. So as you guys probably know, your hardware, either your console or your PC, it's only one half of the equation. The other half is pairing it with the correct and most badass gaming monitor or TV that you can possibly find. Right now, I said it in my unboxing of the MG28UQ and review that PC monitors are in a little bit of an awkward spot right now in technology. If you can hold off of purchasing a 4K monitor, I would highly recommend so. And in terms of TV, even though I personally don't own a 4K television, I've done a little bit of research on them, and general knowledge is that the LG B7 or C7 is a pretty solid choice when you're talking about televisions of gaming into 4K. I personally like to play on gaming monitors that are very specified and specifically made for gaming, because I like the fact they are low latency, and based on my gaming setup, I need to record video at the same time as editing videos, and just using a gaming monitor or a PC monitor just makes my life a lot easier. So that's on the hardware side, but you also have to take into account the internet side as well when you're talking about the Xbox One X, because the Xbox One X enhanced video games after their patches are absolutely massive. You're looking at least 100 gigabytes of storage taken up on your internal hard drive on the device just for each Xbox One X enhanced game. Some of them actually almost reach 200 gigabytes in the case of Quantum Break. So that is a massive amount for space on your hard drive. The device itself comes packed with a 1 terabyte hard drive, which sounds pretty big but in actuality it isn't, especially when you consider over 100 gigabytes is just taken by the operating system itself. So I had 3 games installed. I had Call of Duty, Gears of War 4, as well as Halo 5 Guardians, and that knocked my hard drive space to around 80 gigabytes remaining just for the 3 games by themselves. So I was slightly disappointed by the fact that this console only came loaded with a 1 terabyte hard drive. This is especially considering when the Xbox One S, the white version of the console, packs a default 2 terabyte hard drive in its higher end model. So I think they kind of cheesed this and chinsed this out at that 1 terabyte just to kind of keep costs a little bit lower. So considering how large Xbox One X enhanced games are, then the extra terabyte of hard drive space would have been greatly appreciated. I would recommend, if you have this console and you use it mainly exclusively as your main console, either upgrade it with another hard drive or purchase an external hard drive that you can hook up to its USB port. It has to be a USB 3.0 connector and with a hard drive of over 256 gigabytes. And like I said earlier, with Xbox One enhanced games being over 100 gigabytes in storage space, that means you probably are going to have pretty decent internet if you want to play your video games in a timely manner. And if you live in an area where there are actual bandwidth limitations of how much data you can actually use in a single month, then this console is definitely not for you, because this console will absolutely demolish your bandwidth usage within a month. So that's another thing that you kind of have to consider on the back end when you talk about the full cost of playing at 4K. All right, so now that I've gone over the actual full cost of 4K gaming, the upfront cost as well as the back end cost, I basically have to talk about whether or not is 4K gaming worth it on a console. And long story short, I personally think it is, because you're talking to a person who plays video games for a living. I run a Let's Play channel for you guys to watch, but I find it extremely difficult to convey my opinions, especially when we talk about video in a YouTube video, because YouTube video compression, no matter how good it's gotten within the last couple of years, still does not do video justice. Just like with AMD FreeSync and NVIDIA G-Sync, seeing is believing. You have to play and pick up a controller and play an actual 4K in person to kind of fully understand its scope as well as its value to you. But what I would recommend is, now that we're around the holiday times, a lot of video game producers, manufacturers, there are a lot of pop-up kind of stands in malls these days where you can play the latest consoles on these very beautiful 4K HDR televisions. Best Buy is another option that you can do it. So I would recommend, if you can do so, go to your nearest electronics store, see if the monitor is in 4K, and just play it for yourself and see if you enjoy it and if it's worth your time and investment. Okay, let's just say at this time you do not have a 4K monitor, but there's a chance you could possibly upgrade one to one in the near future. Playing at 1080p, is this console still worth it to you? Personally myself, I would say no, but at the same time you still get some benefit out of the upgraded hardware playing at 1080p. The console will downscale and super sample based on the resolution you are playing, so you still will get some performance bonuses, but at the same time I still don't think that it's worth it if you already own a console already of kind of in the same vein. And I'm about to piss off the entire PC master race when I say this, but currently as it stands, the cold hard truth is that the most affordable way to play 4K games is currently on console. I actually watched a video, which I will link in the description, the other day, where Linus Tech Tips tried to build a $500 PC from scratch to match the performance of the Xbox One X at the exact same price point, and the results, they weren't even close in terms of graphical fidelity, performance, frame rates, not even close remotely at all. So if you want to play at 4K and you want the most affordable way to do so, console is now a viable option. Currently, as it stands right now at the recording of this video, there are over 130 Xbox One enhanced games available to download and patch. This spans across Xbox One games as well as Xbox 360 games. But I have to kind of dispel the myth here that every game will run at 4K perfect 60 FPS on the console. The truth is, it really depends on the game. If you're talking first-party games such as Halo 5, Guardians, and Gears of War 4, 4K 60 is definitely doable. But when you talk about third-party publishers such as Ubisoft, it really depends, because Assassin's Creed Origins, even though it looked great on Xbox One X, it did not run at 60 frames per second. It ran at a steady 30 frames per second. I'm not trying to convince you guys that 4K gaming on a console will ever reach the same levels of 4K gaming on PC, because it just can't, based on the price point the consoles have to stick with it, as well as the form factor in terms of size. But what I'm trying to say, you still get a fairly comparable 4K experience on a console in terms of what you're spending versus a 4K capable gaming PC. And one thing to also note is that the performance in terms of the actual games will be more consistent with their performance on console in comparison to PC ports, which over the years have basically been a hit and miss. So in conclusion, the Xbox One X does everything it is advertised to do so. It delivers a comparable 4K viewing experience, and just based on hardware alone, it is definitely the most powerful console in the world. But the real question boils down to if you plan to play in 4K or not. If this is worth the upgrade if you do not want to play on 4K. So personally myself, if you're a person who does plan on playing in 4K and you have a 4K monitor with HDMI 2.0 support, that is an important thing to note. Make sure your TVs and gaming monitors have HDMI 2.0, and then go have fun. Have a great time. The games look awesome, especially when you get the enhanced versions of them. But is this console worth it if you only plan on playing at 1080p? Especially if you already have an older console version such as the base PlayStation 4 Pro or the base Xbox One. I would personally say no, because you've already bought a console already, and this mid-generation kind of step up to the next level of hardware personally is not worth it, in my personal opinion, at 1080p. Different story once again if you plan to upgrade to 4K in the near future. If this is going to be your first console of this console generation, then I think that it is definitely more of a reasonable purchase, especially since you haven't already bought one in the past. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to the video games. It always comes back to the video games in terms of your pure enjoyment and how much value you get out of the console itself. Choose the console, PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox One X, doesn't matter. Choose the ones that you think are gonna have the best games, the best community, the best online infrastructure, where your friends are mostly playing on. And I think, as always, that will be the best determination of whether or not you should go with Team Blue or Team Green. And yeah, let's just leave it at that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you enjoyed, drop the video a quick thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.